Know who my mortal enemy is? Ashton Kutcher.
Ah, Jesus.
He thought he could replace Charlie Sheen? Please, where's that show now?
Off the air.
Let's go ahead and get these comments out of the way. Is this a re-upload? Didn't you already make a video on this? Haven't I seen this already? The answer is no. No, you haven't. However, I can understand the confusion, being as in the past, I made a video talking about how 2.5 Men had the worst series finale. Well, today I'm here to tell you that that's not entirely true, because 2.5 Men had 2 of the worst series finales. Let me explain. While the show's last 2-part episode served as its final goodbye, it was very clearly a non-canon wink, nod, and at times, a middle finger to fans of the series, and also all those who worked on it. Choosing to acknowledge the litany of issues that the series faced after Sheen's departure, and make meta jokes about it as opposed to delivering a satisfying conclusion to a show that fans invested 12 years of their lives into. But if I'm being entirely honest, I think by this point in time,
this annoying little ship has sailed.
The series had already strayed far from its original premise, and lost the plot entirely. So this kind of felt like a means to an end. There was no logical conclusion or satisfying send-off that you could give these characters because it had already passed them by. The series could have ended any of the times that Alan left his brother's mansion. It could have ended with Charlie's funeral when Sheen was forced to exit due to his own bad behavior. It could have ended at the end of the first Sheenless season, having its final episodes revolve around mourning and moving on from a tragedy.
Yeah, right.
All of these to me would have been acceptable series finales. But instead, after each of these major moments on the show is allowed to continue on, somewhat undercutting everything that had happened, and all in the favor of returning to the status quo, even though that itself was changing. So to credit the actual series finale that discredited the series that it was a part of, a terrible way to say goodbye, but laughs were had nonetheless. However, the same can't be said for the actual canonical series ending, which was inarguably worse. There were no laughs to be had, and even if there were, I don't know that anybody was watching at this point. The 2-parter Of Course He's Dead was memorable even if for the wrong reasons, but the episode that preceded it has already been completely forgotten. Actually, let's go ahead and test this theory out. Those of you who are watching this, I assume some of you are 2.5 Men fans. I want you to right now pause the video, take to the comment section, don't go and open up any other windows, no cheating here, honor system. I want you to try to describe the plot of the show's actual finale. Go ahead, take your time. We'll all wait. You can't, can you? To be honest, neither could I on any given day that I didn't refresh my memory. So just to bring you up to speed before we talk about the show's actual final episode, by the time the series finale came around, Charlie Sheen was off the show, Charlie Harper was dead, Ashton Kutcher was brought in to replace him as a character named Walden. Shortly thereafter, he got a haircut and his entire character was changed, and he was basically made into an NPC main character. So this was like the original Free Guy. Shortly thereafter, Angus T. Jones was off the show, so Jake left and joined the army. In an effort to try to justify the name of the series, Amber Tamblyn was brought in to play Charlie's never-before-seen or heard-of daughter. But they quickly got bored of that, got rid of her, and had Walden and Alan get married so that this way they can adopt a new Jake, a boy by the name of Lewis. Lewis, of course, would then go on to do absolutely nothing on the show, do nothing for the show, and was really just a means of setting up the last season that nobody really wanted to see anymore to begin with. What's interesting is that the last season wasn't really episodic. As a matter of fact, it was more structured than any of the previous seasons, and that was to its detriment. The show has always worked best in isolated adventures and events, which also might be why compilations of the series are so successful here on the platform. The marriage plot introduced audiences to the character of Miss McMartin. The couple's caseworker turned Alan's love interest, turned Walden's love interest in short succession. After Lewis's adoption is finalized and things are seemingly serious between Alan and Lindsay, and I guess somewhat serious between Miss McMartin and Walden, the fake couple get a real divorce. In an attempt to literally repay Alan for all that he's done, Walden offers to buy him one major gift, which Alan selfishly uses to get himself a nice new car. But this move upsets his girlfriend, who hoped he'd use his wish a little bit more selflessly. So not wanting to lose his long-term on-again, off-again girlfriend, Alan trades in his Ferrari for a McElroy, having his former spouse buy him an engagement ring for his new spouse. And if all of this sounds insane to you, that would be because it is. By the time this show ended, every relationship was completely tainted in some form or fashion. I think they said it best in the non-canonical series finale.
After 12 years, everybody slept with everybody.
But this sends Walden into a crisis, fearing forever being alone after Alan leaves his beach house to live happily never after with Lindsay. But Alan quenches his fears, saying that they'll still have time to live together, and even after he gets married, they'll still hang out. And all of this is kind of funny because Walden spent the last 3 seasons trying to get this guy out of his house, only for him to break the second the opportunity comes up. Which isn't too dissimilar from Charlie, actually, now that I think about it. Who, when given an ultimatum between the love of his life and the roommate from hell, he chooses the latter, putting his happiness on hold as to not hurt his brother. In the end, Alan proposes, Lindsay says yes, Walden proposes, Miss McMartin says no, and so endeth the series. Seriously, that's all there is. That's it. Now, let's go ahead and review this goodbye real quick. Alan is in a relationship with a woman who's cheated on him with his ex-wife and left him a number of times for a number of different people. And Walden is mostly left romantically directionless, being one half of a couple that has zero chemistry together that was slopped together last minute. But hey, at least he now has a kid that he doesn't have any kind of dynamic with, so there is that. Yeah, this wasn't great. I know that the episodes that followed this were kind of bad, but at least they were bad in a big way. This was just bad in a small and sad kind of way. Granted, Alan and Lindsay were the right choice. I think this was without question the most entertaining pairing the final seasons of the show had, and probably Alan's greatest love interest in general. But everything else about this just felt so flat and so unimportant. This is a terrible end to a sweet show that soured over time. Say what you will about the 2-parter we got after this, but at least you have something to say about it. This one felt like a forgettable filler episode with what's supposed to be a major moment at the end, but it just doesn't fit. Nothing about this works because even die-hard fans of this series stopped caring by this point, and it feels like those who were making it did too. Not that I blame any of them. In the show's later days, Chuck Lorre was trying to tiptoe through landmines. First trying to work with the PR problem known as Charlie Sheen, then trying to move on from beloved character Charlie Harper, trying to figure out what to do in his absence, trying to figure out what to do with Ashton Kutcher's presence, dealing with Angus's spiritual awakening, trying to replace him 2 times over, and then ultimately ending up with a product that looked nothing like it did in its beginning stages. By the end of 2.5 Men, it was down to a man and a half, having to replace 2 of the show's 3 leads with stand-ins that were supposed to somehow endear themselves to audiences in half the time their beloved predecessors were on screen. That was a Herculean task, and the franchise was crushed beneath its weight. It's sad how all of this went down, but it's nice to know that most of the hard feelings behind the scenes didn't persist, as Charlie Sheen and Chuck Lorre buried the hatchet. You know, after first burying their own in the other's back. Even Angus has made amends with his former employer. And John Cryer, well, he got to redeem himself for his terrible Lenny Luthor performance in Superman, with a pretty good performance as Lex Luthor in Supergirl. So while the show ended poorly, and believe me, it did, at least the behind the scenes ended well. It just goes to show you that sometimes fact is stranger and stronger than fiction. So that was the real ending of 2.5 Men. The really boring one, anyway. And if you like this video as much as I didn't like making it, and you'd maybe like to see a video on Chuck Lorre's reunion with Charlie Sheen in The Bookie, well then let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying
2.5.
3.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.